More than 4 decades have passed since 4 soldiers of fortune first told us that if we had a problem, if no one else could help, and if we could find them, maybe we could hire the A-Team. The cast's real lives brought one devastating loss, 2 remarkable cancer battles, one of the most unexpectedly moving acts of generosity in celebrity history, and careers that went in directions nobody could have predicted. Let's see where they are in 2026. Number 1. George Peppard as Colonel John Hannibal Smith. Born in 1928, George was 54 years old when he first chomped on a cigar as Hannibal Smith and cemented one of the most iconic character entrances in 1980s television. He was already a genuine Hollywood heavyweight before the A-Team. He had starred opposite Audrey Hepburn in Breakfast at Tiffany's in 1961 and spent the following 2 decades building a serious film career. But it was Hannibal who gave him his most enduring legacy. He once told an interviewer that the role of Hannibal was probably the best part he had ever had in his career. And given that his career included Breakfast at Tiffany's, that is saying something. George Peppard was a lifelong heavy smoker, and in 1992, surgeons removed a cancerous tumor from his right lung. He appeared to be in remission and kept working. In fact, just days before his death, he had finished filming a pilot for a new television series called The PI, a spin-off of Matlock. He never got to see it air. On May 5th, 1994, he was hospitalized with serious breathing problems that rapidly developed into pneumonia. George Peppard died on May 8th, 1994. He was 65 years old, 5 times married, one of Hollywood's most magnetic presences, and the man who made loving the plan come together feel like the coolest thing on television. Number 2. Mr. T as B.A. Baracus. Born Lawrence Turode in 1952 in Chicago, Mr. T was 30 years old when he took on the role that would make his face and voice recognizable across the entire world. He had worked as a military policeman, tried out for the Green Bay Packers, and spent years as a nightclub bouncer and bodyguard before a chance encounter brought him to Rocky III, and then straight to the A-Team. B.A. Baracus was not just a character, he was a cultural phenomenon, and the gold chains that covered his chest from collar to stomach became the most recognizable trademark in 1980s television. But in September 1995, Mr. T was removing one of those diamond earrings when he noticed a small sore on his ear. He almost didn't bother going to the doctor. 2 weeks later, a biopsy confirmed he had a rare form of T-cell lymphoma. He later said, "Can you imagine that? Cancer with my name on it. Personalized cancer." The treatment was brutal. 6 weeks of high-dose chemotherapy, then interferon therapy for a year and a half, then more radiation. The cancer persisted and relapsed multiple times. Through it all, Mr. T fought with the same spirit B.A. Baracus brought to every firefight. "I pity the fool who just gives up. We can be living with cancer, not dying from it." Then in 2005, something happened that revealed a completely different side of the man behind the mohawk. When Hurricane Katrina devastated New Orleans, Mr. T went down to help with the cleanup effort. Standing among the destruction, watching people who had lost their homes, their family members, everything they owned, he made a decision. He took off his gold chains. All of them. Every single one. And he never put them back on. He said, "It would be a sin against God for me to wear my gold when so many people lost everything." The gold that had defined his image for over 2 decades, gone out of pure compassion. Now 73 years old in 2026, Mr. T is still here, still fighting, and still one of the most genuinely beloved figures to ever come out of 1980s television. Number 3. Dirk Benedict as Templeton Face Peck. Born in 1945 in Helena, Montana, Dirk was 37 when he became Face, the smooth-talking, irresistibly charming con man who could talk his way into or out of absolutely anything, and looked incredible doing it. He had already built a devoted fan base as Lieutenant Starbuck in the original Battlestar Galactica before the A-Team came calling, making him one of the few actors in history to headline 2 iconic science fiction and action franchises back to back. But Dirk Benedict's most remarkable story had nothing to do with either of them. In his late 20s, before he was famous, Dirk was diagnosed with prostate cancer. The standard medical advice was surgery and conventional treatment. Dirk refused. He moved himself to a remote cottage, isolated himself almost completely, and treated his cancer through a strict macrobiotic diet, a Japanese approach to eating and living that he had first encountered while filming in Sweden. When he returned to his doctors, the cancer was gone. He was declared healthy, in time to audition for Battlestar Galactica and begin the career that followed. He wrote about the experience in his memoir, Confessions of a Kamikaze Cowboy. After the A-Team, Dirk largely stepped away from mainstream Hollywood on his own terms, raising his two sons in a 900-square-foot log cabin in Montana after his divorce in 1995, cooking macrobiotic meals, fishing, and living as far from the Hollywood spotlight as geography would allow. Now 81 years old, Dirk Benedict is exactly the kind of man Peck always claimed to be, someone who plays by his own rules and always seems to come out ahead.
Number 4. Dwight Schultz as Captain Howling Mad Murdock. Born in 1947 in Baltimore, Dwight was 35 years old when he became Howling Mad Murdock, the certifiably insane pilot whose unpredictability was the show's secret comedic weapon, and who had to be broken out of a psychiatric institution in virtually every episode. What most people don't know is that when the producers first saw Dwight's audition, they almost cut the character entirely. They thought Murdock was too over the top, too unpredictable, too much. It was the audience response in early episodes that saved him. Viewers loved Murdock immediately and irreversibly. One personal detail that captures everything about Dwight Schultz: he designed every single t-shirt his character Murdock wore on the show himself. Every episode, a new hand-designed shirt. That is the level of commitment and creativity he brought to a role people were originally going to write out. After the A-Team, Dwight became one of Hollywood's most prolific voice actors, voicing Reginald Barclay across multiple Star Trek series and films over 11 years, and lending his voice to God of War, Batman Arkham Knight, Crash Bandicoot, and dozens of animated shows. He has been married to actress Wendy Fulton since 1983, over 40 years, and has one daughter. Now 78 years old, Dwight Schultz remains one of the most quietly versatile performers to ever come out of 1980s action television. Number 5. Melinda Culea as Amy Amanda Allen. Born in 1955, Melinda was 27 when she joined the A-Team as investigative journalist Amy Allen, the civilian character who served as the audience's entry point into the team's world during the show's first 2 seasons. She was quietly written out after season 2 in circumstances that have never been fully explained publicly, with producers at the time offering only vague statements about creative direction. Melinda gave a few interviews in the years after, suggesting the departure was not entirely her choice. After the A-Team, she continued working in television through the 1980s and 1990s, but gradually stepped back from the industry. Now 70 years old, Melinda Culea maintains a very private personal life and rarely speaks publicly about her time on the show, which, given how abruptly it ended, is perhaps understandable.
Number 6. Eddie Velez as Frankie Santana. Born in 1958, Eddie was 26 when he joined the A-Team in its 5th and final season as Frankie Santana, a special effects expert brought in to replace the departing Melinda Culea and inject new energy into a show that was struggling in the ratings. The addition was not enough to save the series, which NBC canceled at the end of season 5 in 1987. After the A-Team, Eddie continued working steadily in television and film throughout the late 1980s and 1990s, appearing in a variety of character roles. He is now 67 years old and has maintained a largely private life away from the spotlight in the decades since the show ended.
George Peppard gone at 65, with a brand new TV pilot sitting unwatched in a studio somewhere. Mr. T, who survived cancer, gave away his gold after a hurricane, and still refuses to quit. Dirk Benedict who beat cancer with a macrobiotic diet in a Montana cabin and raised his sons in 900 square feet by choice. And Dwight Schultz, who designed every shirt Murdock ever wore, voiced characters across 4 decades, and married the same woman in 1983 and never left. The A-Team was supposed to be a show about 4 men who were impossible to kill. Looking at the real lives behind it, in at least 3 cases, that turns out to be completely true. Which cast member story hit you hardest? Drop it in the comments below. And if you want more stories like this from the shows that defined your childhood, subscribe. We have so much more coming.